German boy got his new uniform for the first time, but the collar had another man's name on it, so Paul returned the uniform.
Aber ihr wollt so klein für den Kerl, ne?
The quartermaster removed the name tag. Paul dismissed his doubts, but what he didn't see was that there were many tags under the table, and the so-called new uniforms had been worn by other soldiers just days ago. After the soldiers sacrificed on the battlefield, their uniforms and shoes were stripped off and packed back to the rear. Then the female workers washed away the blood, tailors mended them, and finally cut off the tags, because there were too many uniforms. The tags were often forgotten. Then these new uniforms were sent to the newly graduated German boys. Paul was very excited. He changed into the uniform. Next day the recruits eagerly stepped onto the battlefield, but soon their smiles were gone. The French artillery attacked the troops. Paul hastily put on his gas mask. The recruits had just arrived at the trench. They were forced to use their helmets to clear the water here. That night Paul was assigned to stand guard, but with a signal flare, the enemy launched a fierce artillery attack. Paul quickly hid in a dugout. At this moment he was trembling and regretted his decision to enlist. The next day Paul luckily survived. The trench was full of corpses. Paul was ordered to collect the name tags of the dead. Now he finally understood where his new uniform came from. 3 years later, Paul had become a veteran. Faced with the enemy's artillery fire, Paul was no longer afraid. He dodged the French bullets skillfully. The German soldiers quickly attacked the enemy's trench. Paul even found the enemy's command post. Just as he was enjoying the French food, the table began to shake violently. Even the rats ran away in panic. Paul realized something was wrong, so he immediately went outside to check. At this moment several huge iron boxes were moving towards them. Paul was stunned. Bullets couldn't stop the tanks from moving forward. Soon the tanks launched a fierce attack on the Germans. Paul could only hide in the trench and tremble, but the huge tank ruthlessly crushed their trench. The German soldiers were completely shattered. They began to flee in panic. Faced with such a defeat, the German government finally signed a ceasefire agreement, just as Paul thought he could go home. But the officer, for his own honor, he ordered an attack an hour before the ceasefire. Now Paul was numb. At this moment he had lost his soul. Like a zombie he charged at the enemy. Finally Paul never back to Germany, and his name tag was taken away by a recruit just like 3 years ago.